Right, joining me now to discuss the change of leadership at the EFDB Group and the latest Japan-Africa economic diplomacy is Ade Adefeko, the Director in charge of Corporate and Regulatory Affairs at Olamagre. Adefeko is also a public affairs analyst and, of course, an economic ambassador. We thank you for your time on the show this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Give me your first thoughts on this important development at the EFDB, the change of leadership today. Well,
what I will speak to here is that when Akim Adesina assumed office, it was leadership, it was opportunity, okay? Meeting preparedness. And he was just speaking to his high fives, which was the thrust of his 10-year tenure. And I think a lot of his achievements have been remarkable. And as we usher in Dr. Tar, who is a Mauritanian from Nouakchott, besides Senegal and Cape Verde, Francophone. We've left the Anglophone, now we're moved to the Francophone. Both still in West Africa, or sometimes geographically, the Mauritanians might call themselves Maghreb. It depends. Again, Dr. Adesina has done his bit, he's run his race, he's handing over the baton, and I think it's an extremely proud moment for him and for Africans in general. To a large extent, I think he has made his mark for what he has achieved over a 10-year period. Of course, you know, the second term was rocked by, a bit of one or two allegations here and there. But of course, he came out, he came out top. So Dr. Akim Adesina is a worthy ambassador of Nigeria, and he's someone that we should all be proud of. A Nigerian who is an agricultural economist and someone who believes that agriculture should be treated as a business. So he's one of those few people who decided to work on the basis of agribusiness rather than agriculture.
Interesting. But now, what's your outlook on this important development of financial institutions as Dr. Tar takes over? What would you like to see done better, bigger for the continent?
For me, I think AFDB should be a bit more ambitious. They should be a bit more daring, and they should focus a lot on food security infrastructure. There's always a nexus between that. I mean, at different fora where I've spoken to the fact that food security is an integral part of national security. And as Dr. Tar takes over today,
he's also an economist.
Yes,
he's coming from Badia, so he knows about development finance, by the way.
Development finance is, you see, what we don't want to do in Africa is to go with monikers and going with sound bites. Let's work. Let's steal. Let's act. Let's be strategic, deliberate, intentional.
Are those points that you talked about, are they your key takeaways from the recent Japan-Africa Economic Development Conference?
Well,
you were there in Tokyo.
Yes, I was in Tokyo, and I went to the land of the rising sun, as Japan is famously known. And TICAD is, of course, is the Tokyo International Conference for African Development. It started in 1993. Is it 93 or 95? I'm not quite sure now. This is the ninth one, which held in Tokyo. So I was on a panel where, on the sidelines, where we had an IFC sponsored meet where I spoke on factoring.
Well, the IFC is big.
Yes,
so that's the private sector.
That's the private sector arm of it. Yes, that's private arm of the World Bank.
Yes.
And I spoke on value chain financing with respect to commodity buyers and sellers like us. Of course, Olamagre is a global giant in that. So, and for me, what struck me was the intentionality about the Japanese, looking at us and saying, you know what, we're committing. Let me recall. I can't recall the figure offhand that they're supporting Africa with. Okay,
I think it's a double digit.
Yes, it's double digit. Yes, double digit figures.
Yes, it's something around $15 billion.
$15 billion there above. Yes,
for this new special economic zones and all that Japan wants to bring. So I talk about technology. Give it to Japan.
Yeah, no. I mean, I went to Japan for the second time. My first time was in 2017, where I was a panelist as well in Japan. So this time around, then the yen was very, very, very strong. So when I went to Japan, then things were expensive. I bought nothing. This time around, the yen is very weak and the dollar is strong. So you can see that the yen is like a yo-yo. And of course, A lot of you know about what we call in the Parliament of Japan is called the Diet. And of course, Japan has, in spite of their successive prime minister baton changes,
Yes.
there's the Japanese principle of, leadership at the top, followership, move. They are so, I was speaking offline to you that I took the bullet train from my hotel, Imperial Hotel in Japan, which is the oldest hotel in Japan, clockwork. When I went to the Tokyo station, it said it was leaving at 13:05. We left at 13:05 and it said 1 hour. At exactly 14:05, I landed at Narita International Airport, went to my terminal, and of course the rest is history. So there's clinical efficiency, mathematical accuracy with Japan. So Japan is a country that, to a large extent, we have a lot to learn.
So what should be the playbook for Africa? Now, it's not only Japan. The Indians are making overtures in terms of economic diplomacy for Africa. India, for example, is saying, look, they wants to make Africa a manufacturing hub because the weather is hot, technically speaking, in terms of tariffs from the United States. So then you have the Russians. Then you have the Chinese. So the folks within the BRICS, as it were, the big boys within that are shopping for Africa, for our resources, both human and material.
What you are seeing now is that there's another scramble for Africa, as it were. But again, we must negotiate on our own terms.
So that's what I was asking. What should be our playbook?
No, our playbook should be the fact that we must, negotiate on our own terms. We must deal with them on our own terms. But most people don't like the aspect of African countries being summoned and you talk to them as a group, collective. Now, Africa is 55 countries. Deal with us each on an independent and direct bilateral basis. But again, sometimes maybe because of the whole bureaucracy of having one-on-ones. But this is what, with India, India is a part of the global south.
Yes.
But of course, Japan is not part of the global south. Japan is the global north. So you have the global south now trying to come together. India is part of the global south. So they're saying, let's continue to ensure we work on south-south cooperation.
Yeah.
And that's what is needed. The playbook is, let us bring something to the table. And whatever we bring to the table, let's make sure that it's value added. In this era of AI, robotics, and the likes. So the world has moved on from all this arable land, cultivating this and cultivating that. You might have a small parcel of land. If you're efficient and effective using technology, you get better yield from that. So I'm talking about the agricultural side. But we have another problem we need to face: infrastructure. A school of thought believes that we should have. I'm going to Algeria, for example, in a couple of hours. To get the Algerian visa, I will have to go to Abuja. Okay? They don't have a consulate here in Lagos. I went to Abuja in the morning, and I came back in the evening. I spent a flight ticket for that. But guess how much the visa fee was? 79,000 thereabout. Guess how much it cost me to get to Abuja to go and pick it up? 400,000. So the question you ask yourself is, why couldn't I pick it up on arrival or pick it up at the consulate? So the AU talks about Agenda 65 and 65 and all that. But you know what? The AU needs to put their money where their mouth is. The bulk of the people that have the AU passports are the bureaucrats at the AU. The likes of you and I who move around, trying to tell the African story or the world story, you can move around. And what is the sense of not having you must have an African Union passport so I can move around.
Yeah.
You give it to special people in quotes. If I cannot move around, how can I trade? So ACFTA is under threat with things like this. So regional continental cooperation integration is at risk.
You're going to push some of these through the IATF conference.
I sure will. I sure will let them have a feel of what I have to say.
Your thoughts.
My thoughts, particularly to the AU. The AU needs to bite and stop backing.
So what's the lesson? What's the takeaways for Nigeria from the TICAD?
For TICAD, Nigeria, I must say Nigeria was well represented. We signed a few deals on the energy side. I recall coming back from Tokyo with the Minister of Power. So he had sideline meetings with the Mitsubishis of this world with respect to power. And I think power, renewable energy, and solar is what they were speaking to. So there were lots of sideline bilaterals held. Nigeria was ably represented. And what I like this administration for is that to a large extent they take who needs to be there. So I think I cited the Minister of Trade, Minister of State for Trade. I started Atiku Bagudu, Minister of Economic Planning, and then a few others. So it was a very tight, and of course, the Japanese community, the Nigerian community in Japan as well, which is
quite a number of the private sector on the entourage,
yes.
those who need to get boots on the ground. You think that should be a lot more of what we need to see?
No, what you should always have is when your president, who is the chief diplomat, the chief marketer of the country, is going, he should move with a coterie of private sector players who hit big, who can commit, who can take decisions. Government has no business in business, as I've always said. But you know what? Government can be a catalyst. Government can help drive, policy.
The midwife.
Reform. Yes, midwife.
The midwife.
I know the midwife is the one that, of course, will see to the baby being born. So I think lessons are good lessons, but again, with all these things we sign, it's as good as the paper it's written on. We must follow through. Half of the time we never follow through. We just leave it, and that's where the media will come to fore. The media must interrogate to a large extent.
That's why I'm interrogating.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. We must interrogate. I mean, you recall that you and I spoke about, I'm not sure if it's you, we spoke about India, Nigeria-India, the very first visit of President Tinubu.
Yes.
So these are the questions you should be asking. So, but I think to a large extent, we're not there yet. It's not yet Eureka, but we're making progress, arithmetically.
Arithmetically.
So I would rather have us progress geometrically.
Okay, so what's new for Olam this year so far?
Well, what's new
the rest of the year?
Well, what's new for Olam this year? We're on the verge of commissioning our $50 million soya plant in Ilorin. It's massive. It's one of the, people talk about FDI, we talk about DDI, domestic direct investment. We're already here. We've been here for 35 years, going on 36. We see opportunities, we don't see challenges. And when there are challenges, we have a seat at the table and we have the conversation. So for us, we're still one of the largest in the area where we play. Animal feed on the one hand, fish feed, and of course rice. So to a large extent, food security for us, we are making sure that we ensure food sovereignty. Because food security without sovereignty is what you say in Arabic, kalas, dead. So for us, regeneration, government policy support, which has been coming in leaps and bounds, drawing lessons, asking questions, interrogating the way and manner in which we do things, having the private sector play a more prominent role, chambers of commerce, very good. Yes, of course.
That's just my final point about what's the business confidence sentiment from the business sector?
No, for the
actually, for those of you in Agro-Halite, other folks are reporting some good numbers on the exchange. For example, the Presco, the guys in the palm oil refinery and all of that. You think things are turning the corner? No,
for me, I think one of the most important things is on the monetary policy side. The currency has stabilized in the last 8-9 months. We are seeing a clear line of sight. And to a large extent, I think that is good for the economy. Inflation is receding, okay? And if you look at the consumer price index component of it, with regards to
food,
in that basket,
yes,
we're not doing badly. So I think we can only get better. But again, like I said, you're only as good as your last harvest. So, so we need to what?
Like you said, you want to see geometric proportions.
Yes. For the viewers who don't understand what I'm speaking to, I'm not talking about 1, 2, 3. I'm talking about 2, 4, 6. That's geometric. Arithmetic is 1, 2, 3.
I love it. I'm sure you take a little bit of that into sports.
Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ade Adefeko, we appreciate those insights into current